I shave my love bugs. This is your girl, Empress Goddess, the Georgia Peach. I hope you're doing well. I hope all is well with the family. I wasn't gonna come back on tonight. I know y'all say I always say that, but I really wasn't gonna come back on. I had said fuck it. You know that's the way I feel sometimes. Fuck it. But anyway, as I was saying, welcome back to Empress Goddess Presents. I'm your host with the most, the Georgia Peach, Empress Goddess herself. We're gonna get in here with a little bit of Neville Goddard, The Alchemy of Jesus Christ, a lecture by Neville Goddard.
The priest, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. According to a rabbinical principle, what is not written in Scripture is non-existent. The story of Jesus follows this principle. I've come to fulfill Scripture. Scripture must be fulfilled in me. Now, who is we? That question was asked of eternity, really. 200 years ago, a friend of Blake, on their way into dinner, said to him, "Tell me, what do you think of Jesus? Who is he?" And Blake replied, "Jesus is the only God." Well, then he hastened to ask, "And so am I, and so are you." Unfortunately, they went into dinner, and that was the end of the conversation. So we have no further news on it. But he said, "He's the only God, but so am I, and so are you." So tonight, let us look at it and see how practically we can make this thing in our world. The New Testament begins with the statement that this is the book of the genealogy of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. So the story begins with Abraham. So we go back to the story of Abraham and start with the 15th chapter of the book of Genesis. And as the story unfolds, first his name is Abram, exalted father. It's changed later to Abraham, which means the father of the multitude. So his first name is Abram, this exalted father. And we are told that the Lord spoke to Abram. And he told him that he is his shield, and that his reward will be very great. And Abram said to him, "I have no offspring. You've given me no offspring." And the Lord said to him, "You shall have a son, and the son will be your heir. It will not be one born of a slave in your home, but your own son will be your heir." Then he tells him of what would have happened to him. He will go into a land that is not his, and the offspring will go into a land that is not his. And he will be a slave there for 400 years. And when he comes out, he will inherit great possessions, very great possessions. Then we are told that Abraham believed him, and it was a comfort unto Abraham for righteousness. First he tells you, "I am your shield." In the New Testament we are told, when you put on the armor of God, above all things put on the shield of faith. So we see what the shield is. And the only faith in Scripture is faith in God. For God's name forever and forever is I am. That's God's name. That's the name of Jesus.
What's up, baby girl? Where you been
Jesus
hiding
means
at?
I am there. It's Joshua, and Joshua is Jehovah, and
I'm sitting
Jehovah
here eating me some salad.
is I am. That is my name forever and forever. Man finds it difficult to keep the pen, but he can only keep the pen. But he speaks of thou art and he is and
How
all
you
these things
doing?
he can't quite believe. As Blake says to his friend Robinson, he is the only God, but so am I,
I was thinking about you
and
yesterday.
so are you. Now we are told a tremendous sleep, a deep and profound sleep fell upon Abraham, and he slept. And then the whole thing
I love
unfolded
salad.
within Abraham in the form of a dream.
I ate me some salad about
Now
12 o'clock
throughout
last night.
Scripture we
We
are
went to
told that
sleep.
God speaks to man in a vision.
I ate
He
me some
makes
fruit
himself
today. I ate me some
known in a
watermelon
vision
and
and talks to him in a dream.
I ate me some watermelon and grapes and strawberry. I had me like a little fruit bowl. Watermelon, strawberries, cantaloupe. Um, what else I had? Grapes, watermelon, strawberries, cantaloupe. Yeah, that's about it.
It would be difficult for me to tell you that this is a dream. But tonight when you do dream, you're not aware of the fact that your body sleeps. If you become aware of the fact that your body is
I
asleep,
know,
you
right?
start to awake. So here,
I be trying to be healthy because of that, because of my diabetes. And if I be trying to eat, some kind of healthy, because it helped me with that. Only with that sticking that needle and stuff.
the so-called waking state, I am telling you this is a dream.
Oh no, that's my fave. I love me
And
some
the
chips.
dreamer is God in you. And that God is your own self, your own I am.
Hey, I can tell you the lie. I love Roman noodles. Man, I fix me a damn noodle so quick it don't make no damn sense. Sometimes you don't be wanting it. Sometimes it just be the taste buds. You just don't be knowing what you want. But shit, like I like them. I like them chili noodles. I even want to see them because I told you I done been to prison before twice, so I know how to hook them damn noodles up.
But you do not know that this is a dream. And you know any more than you know tonight when you sleep that your dream, in some strange, wonderful way, is to you objective and real, and
Mm-hmm.
you're not aware of the fact that you have a sleeping body. So in this waking state, you
Yeah,
also have a sleeping
I don't
body.
say it several
But
times.
you say this body is not a.
I don't say it several times. Yeah, back in the day, yeah, I was a wild child, girl. Yeah, but that been over shit. Well, over way over 10 years since the last time I've been in prison. Yeah, it been over shit. The last time I said fuck that shit. The last time I went for violating my parole, like not reporting and stuff. But that last time, I said I'm done with this here. I don't be wanting damn. I want to get up when I get ready. I want to eat what I want to eat when I get ready to eat. Go when I get ready to go. I said the hell with that. So I can say one good thing came out of my marriage because I married him like maybe about a year because I met him through his daughter because she was locked up down here and she kind of hooked us up. And when I got out of prison, I called him and he said his daughter had done tried to hook him up with plenty of women before because she a shoplifter, she been in and out. He said, but you the only one that called me when you got out. All the rest of them, they didn't do nothing. They just wanted, somebody, kind of take care of them while they was locked up. So, he came. We kind of, like I said, they put on their face, when they trying to get with you, they put on this different face. We kind of kicked. Even the whole time we stayed together, we stayed lived together a year before we got married. Everything was cool, but baby, see that once them papers came, it was over then. Well, that was one good thing that came out of it because that helped me. That got me out the streets, straightened me up, started, Hey, I ain't with it. Hey, trouble easy to get in, is hell to get out of. My father used to tell me that all the time, and that's the damn truth too. So so I can say it was one positive thing to help, help me straighten up and get right. Yeah, I've been saying that, everybody don't do it wrong. Some of us just got caught.
It's a way where I am talking to you from this platform, and I'm fully conscious that I am here, and you're conscious that you are listening. So
Yeah,
we seem to be completely awake. And yet I know this is a dream. I can control the dream, and you can control the dream. If you know
hey, I was
it's a
thinking about you
dream,
yesterday.
the day will
I
come
said,
that you
damn, I
will
ain't
awake
seen
from
my
it,
girl.
and you will awake from the
Wonder
dream.
what's up with sis.
When you awake from the dream, you are God, and you know you are God. Only when you're fully awake from the dream. I know in my own case, it was revealed to me that I will make myself known unto you in a vision. I will speak with you in a dream. Well, he revealed.
And when I didn't see you last night over at Information Man, I was like, well, damn, what the heck going on with sis? Yeah, I've been kind of laid back too for the last 3 days. Couple of days I didn't even get started until like after 2 o'clock. I know yesterday I didn't get started late. The day before that I didn't get started late. And I didn't do like maybe a couple of lives. I usually be going back to bed, but I've been kind of slowing down a little bit. Just kind of chilling out. I started not to go back live tonight. I said, no, I'm going to go here. So I want to hear a little bit of my boy Neville Goddard. So I go here and stream a lecture by him. I ain't got nothing else to do. I'm just sitting back here chilling out. It's cold, getting cold again. You know how I do. It'll warm up 1 minute, then it get cold the next minute. So that's getting kind of cold now. So I'm back here sitting in my the song, I got my t-shirt and my panties on. That's what I'm doing, just like you like it.
Myself to me as the dreamer in me. Because I laid myself down within you to sleep. And as I slept, I dreamed a dream. I dreamed and I knew what he was dreaming. He was dreaming that he is I. And that when he awakes, I am he. He was revealed to me as vividly as anything could be.
I
to
know I
anyone.
had to make you laugh.
He laid himself down within me to sleep. And in his sleep, he had a dream. And he's dreaming that he's I. Now, do I really believe it? To the extent that I believe it, I've made my world change to conform to my idea. If I really believe it is a dream, I can dream a daydream or a night dream. But I must be in control of the dream. So when a man takes a shape, it's a daydream, and he sees a marquee, and it reads his name, implying ownership of a certain building. It's all a dream. It's a daydream granted. He knows exactly what he's doing. When he stands before that sign and he sees the same sign, although no one else can see it, because it isn't there. The sign reads F.N. Roach and Company. And he is looking at it, and he sees J.N. Goddard and Son, which would imply the Goddards own it, and they didn't have a dime. And for 2 years, he still is looking at that thing twice a day on the way to and the way back home. And he actually feels the thrill that would be his if what he is seeing is true. And 2 years later, an almost total stranger buys the building for him and takes only a piece of paper with his signature on it. For he had no money, no collateral. But I watched you and your father, and I trust you implicitly, paying 6% interest on the investment.
I got the munchies shit. I don't ate me some. I'll tell you like this. I don't ate me some oatmeal with some bananas in it. I ate me some oatmeal and bananas. Then I ate me some. Then I just ate that salad. Now I'm eating. Now I'm eating me two of them. what you call them? You do my the sausages and chicken biscuits you can get, in the box at the grocery store. The 2 pack. I eat me 2 of them now. So I got a bunch of. Oh boy, I'm gonna eat me something else in a minute, shit. But at least I ain't like eating a whole bunch of junk. At least I am eating healthy.
And reduce the principal every year for 10 years, and have it all reduced in 10 years. Well, it was reduced in 10 years. And it was 6% paid to him in those days. 6% was a big return.
Yes, I love oatmeal.
It goes back to the year 1922.
When I went to the grocery store yesterday, I said, damn, I ain't had, because I hadn't bought none in a couple of months. So I got to give me something. And then, just as a matter of fact, when I got to the register, I was in Winn-Dixie. The little old white lady, she was in front of me. And I said she had the two, because I like to get them instant. I like the one in the thing, but I get the instant too, so I can just pop me some in the microwave. She had 2 boxes. I said, damn. I said, I love Mr. Oatmeal. She said, oh, it's on sale. Buy one, get one free. I said, okay. Look, I was at the burger right there. I said, maybe I got that. She said, oh, you got time? I'll watch your burger for you. Went right on back there and got me 2 boxes and came back. Dude.
And so that building became the family's building.
Oh, I made biscuits too from scratch. But
it began as a
yeah, I ain't got time to be doing all that right now. My wrist been bothering me. I think I might have copper
all things, but he knows then who God is, because God did that.
Because look,
by him all things are made. And
I don't know. See, I'm telling you, when I make biscuits and stuff like that, really when I cook, it's like I'm so used to like cooking for, because the way I was raised, cooking like big pots, So I'm so used to cooking big pots and stuff. Like when I make biscuits, I don't know how to make just, ain't nobody but the 2 of us here. I don't know how to make, just like maybe 6 or 7 or 8. I be done made a whole damn 2 dozen of them just the way it. So I said, well, if they be don't got thrown away, what we don't either get thrown away. So sometimes I just be getting me something quick that I can have, to munch on in case I have to take me, when I take my and stuff. That's why I try to keep like little snack stuff like this that I can just, heat up real quick.
Alchemy was not anything made that was made, so sure it just came out of nothing. He had no money, no collateral, no
I made old fashioned too.
He only desired to own that building on the main street at the corner, a wonderful corner. And out of the nowhere, he simply assumed.
My favorite instant oatmeal is the apple. I love that apple oatmeal, and I like the ones with the bananas and cream, strawberries and cream. Now, them are my 2 favorite kind of instant oatmeal. They're the only kind I buy the instant.
And remained faithful to it, and then it became his. He took that principle and applied it from that moment on.
Ziploc bag,
So he discovered the creator of things in this world. For God and only God creates. He's nothing but God. Well, if Jesus is the only God, but so am I, and so are you. And Jesus is the I am in every child born of woman. So then let him begin to exercise that talent. Let him begin to test it, to prove it or disprove it. If you are
peanut butter, I love peanut butter too.
Can disprove it.
I made sure I got me another jar of Jif.
You're told in the 6th chapter.
I can just get me a spoon and eat peanut butter. I just put me a spoon, give me a spoonful out of the jar and eat it.
Protect you from all the fiery darts of the wicked. If you think someone is out to get you, it's only part of your dream. You put on the shield of faith. Faith what? It's always faith in God.
It brought peanuts and like walnuts. I got all that kind of stuff. I love peanuts, walnuts, nuts. I got me some peanuts. I got me some walnuts.
If you actually test
I keep them back. But he don't eat peanuts and stuff like that. But I keep them back in the room. My peanuts and my walnuts and stuff. I got all that, and I keep my jar of peanut butter back here.
And then who is the dreamer in the sleep? He tells you it's God. He doesn't tell you that you're not going to have nightmares. You'll have nightmares and daymares because you're learning to exercise a certain power. and you make mistakes. And you think these things on the outside are external to yourself and independent of your perception of them, and they're not. They're all yourself pushed
Oh,
out
I don't give a damn.
through your
I got to
bad
have my
dreams and
GIF.
your misuse of this power.
GIF or either skipping.
If you are ever in control
Smoother
of
than a
this
fresh
power,
Josh
you'll
skip.
have nothing but harmony on the outside.
But GIF my favorite.
But it will come in the very end when you awake from the dream. And in the very end, you are in control of the dream, because you know exactly who you are. And the whole vast world is yourself pushed up. All that you behold, though it appears without, it is within, in your own wonderful human imagination, of which this world of mortality is but a shadow. The whole thing is yourself projected on the screen of space. So you start with a dream, a daydream. What do I want in this world? You ask yourself a very simple question. What do I want? The minute you know exactly what you want, start there. Don't look on the outside. And these shadows now may offend you, or they may oppose what you think you want. When you give power to these shadows, don't give power to the shadows any more than he did. He didn't have one red penny to put up as collateral, but nothing. And a total stranger comes in the day of the sale of that building, and with this lawyer bid for it. No one knew who the lawyer was bidding for. And when it came out at the end of the day, that this is what happened. You should have heard the remarks in the island. It didn't matter one thing to him. Now, the building opposite, a far bigger building, the most expensive building, best located and bigger area than anything on the main street, owned by someone in the family for 125 years. They were absentee owners in England. And my father would stand now in his own building and look across at that building. And the name was Harrison. Harrison. His name is Goddard. But he looked at that building and he wondered, wouldn't it be wonderful if I owned it? So came the year 1942, and England is at war. And those who owned it, living in England, he had a son who was a priest, and he had the other one who lived comfortably with all the money that they had, and didn't want any part of the overseas problem, and thought we should unload it. So he spoke to his representative in Barbados and told him to find some family, a decent family, who makes a great effort for the island, trust themselves, and offer to them. This man comes over to my brother Victor and says, Vic, how would you like to buy that building? I love it. And my
What
father,
you know about this here?
my father said, I've been
After
watching
you know
that
about
building for
them.
years now, and feeling that
What you know about them kneecaps?
within, I would say, 1 week, they cabled back to England, the news came back, and we owned the building. Now, these are all dreams, but the dreams in the eyes of the world are now true. These buildings are now ours, based upon the dreams of my father and my brother Victor. My other brothers didn't do it. They are sharing in the fruit, but they did not actually put it in motion. My brother Victor did. It started off as a child. In some strange way, he felt it would work this way. Why, I do not know. My father confessed years later that's what he lived by, for he had nothing. Didn't have a nickel in this world, and really believed that his dreams would come true. Now, his name is Joseph. We're told in Scripture, Joseph was the dreamer. Behold, this dreamer cometh. And so Joseph comes, the 11th son of Jacob. And the brothers sold him into slavery, into Egypt. But he didn't care. He told his brothers when they discovered who he was, equal to Pharaoh. For he could interpret dreams, and Pharaoh raised him to the point where he was equal to Pharaoh in the rulership of Egypt. And he said to them, you meant evil against me, but God meant it good. Take that to heart. If something appears now to go wrong, you will think, well, no, it's going wrong. No, it's really going right. God meant it for good. Those who are working against you seemingly, they mean it for evil, but forget it. don't give any power to that. You remain faithful to the vision. If I am not unfaithful to the vision, it can't go wrong. If I now move away and give power to the shadows in my world, it will go wrong. But if I know exactly what I am doing, and regardless of what seemingly is happening in my world, ignore it and remain faithful to the vision. He kept the divine vision in time of trouble. When he stood before King Agrippa, Paul said, "O King, I was not forgetful. I was not unfaithful to the heavenly vision." He kept it, and then it had to come to pass. So you are the dreamer. Now, in the Bible, when you read, your maker is your husband, the Lord of the whole earth, he is called. Well, the word translated maker also means dreamer. It also means because he has dominion over her. And people think it means a husband has dominion over a wife. It has nothing to do with that. Not dominion over another shadow. No, it's dominion over. What is the wife? This is my wife. This is my emanation. Whether it be male or female, this is my emanation. Well, emanation of whom? The emanation of the dreamer in me. Well, who is the dreamer in me? I am. Well, who is he in Scripture? Jesus. Jesus is the I am of man. That's the Lord Jesus. He is God. There is no other God. So here your maker, he is the maker of this emanation, is your husband. And the word husband also means dreamer. So he is the dreamer. Well, do I have dreams? Numberless dreams. Am I faithful to the ones I really want to externalize? I hope so. I'm not always faithful, but then if I'm not faithful, then I will not externalize it. I bring in other things into the world. But whatever I am dreaming, I will bring into my world. And I tell you from my own experience, there is a thing in this world that isn't contained within you. You think the Queen of England is something living over in London? And it's not in you? That her husband is over there? Our president is in Washington, and he's not in you? They're only shadows representing certain powers in this world. Let me share with you a dream of only a week ago. Here, I stand in the presence of the Queen of England, the present Queen. And she said to me, "Weren't you once an atheist?" And I said, "Not really. I did not accept the concept that many people held of God. And if I disagree with them concerning their concept of God, it doesn't mean that I am an atheist. No, I don't think I was ever an atheist. Not really. Save, they were judging as one because I did not go along with their concept of God." Then she said, "Do you believe in Christianity?" I said, "I don't have to believe in Christianity." She said, "You don't have to believe in Christianity?" I said, "No, because I have experienced Christianity. So I don't have to believe in it. I know it. I've experienced Christianity." With that, her uncle, the Duke of Windsor, comes up, little tiny fellow, old as Methuselah, by the looks of him, and he tells her that it's time to go to the party. We're a little bit late now. And she introduces me to him. Well, he took my hand, and I said, "Here is my sister, and here is her husband." So I introduced them to my sister and her husband. And at that, she invited me to a certain party. I said, "I'm sorry, but I can't come." When they departed, my sister reminded me that you can't refuse royalty. But that's a command. Well, I didn't tell them, but I told my sister, I do not accept any command. As far as I'm concerned, I do not accept any aristocracy in this world concerning the flesh. The only aristocracy that I will admit is the aristocracy of the spirit, and they are not born of the spirit. So here they are, they come down. A physical descent does not interest me at all. Don't tell me your physical background. For the most humble person in this world, born of woman, has a lineage that would stifle anything born of flesh.
Amen.
Because the most humble child in this world has a noble background that leads up to God.
I love it.
And God is housed in that child as that child's I am. That's God. But to tell me that this body comes out of a certain physical line, and that is a great line, nonsense. So I said to my sister, it doesn't really matter. So I refused the royal invitation because I do not accept any physical lineage. I will only accept the aristocracy of the spirit and not of the flesh. I didn't tell that to the queen. But where did the whole thing take place? It took place in me. My sister, my brother-in-law, the queen, her uncle, all these are all in me. If I could only animate a section of my brain at will, the whole thing would project itself. The same scene would take place now, at this very moment. The day is coming, you will know that brain of yours is infinite. And you will actually be able to animate sections of it and see it objectify itself and have a play. And then you can stop it, and it returns where? Back into you. That's where it is. You will animate another section, it will project it on the screen of space as something independent of your perception of it. And it will all act as though it's completely independent of you, and it isn't there at all. It's all in you. You stop it, where does it go? It vanishes, it returns to you. That's who you are. You're God. All things are contained within God. And God is your own wonderful human imagination. That is Jesus. And so am I. And so are you. So this is the story that I would try to get over to everyone in the world. I don't care who you are. It doesn't matter where you were born and when you were born and who you are in the eyes of people. It's what you are in your own eyes. You can start this very moment. And if you really want to transcend your present state in this world, you can transcend it because you're going to dream it. The whole vast world is your dream pushed out. If you didn't know it as a child, learn it now. We are the poorest people of the poor. My brother Victor, in some strange way, he discovered that a dream comes true if you are faithful to the dream. My father told me that he always practiced it. He never went through grammar school. He couldn't afford the penny a week to go to school. We had no free education, but a penny was a penny, and his father couldn't afford the penny. It was 2 cents. The British penny, a huge big coin. And so he left in what we would call the middle of a grammar school in this world. But my father had the ambition and he had the capacity to dream. He was well named Joseph Nathaniel. And so he could dream all right. And he dreamed his family into being. Brought 10 children into being, a lovely wife, and raised the 10 and gave each financial independence when he died. And today, I couldn't tell you what they're worth. I do know that I don't think you could come and buy them out for multiple millions. And he didn't have the nickel when he started. But he had a dream. And Victor had a dream, and they dreamed. And today they're still dreaming, trying to convince the new generation who've gone to school. They all came up with their college degrees now, so they can't dream. Everything is something entirely different. If the book doesn't say so, well then it isn't so. So what the new generation will do, I do not know. Our generation enjoy it fully. Now we're going to give it to the next generation. But now they're all educated. All of them who are now in the business, filling this position and that position and the other position, they have all the little IBM machines and they punch this and punch that, and they give you all the things based upon our technology today. My father could look over the machine and see a list that long of numbers and give you the sum. Just look at it, and in 1 second, he'll give you the sum. Push all the buttons and try to disprove it. It was what he saw. Didn't go to school? Yes, a little bit. And so Vic, because of lack of funds, he didn't go to, he went 1 year of college, and we couldn't afford to keep him there, so we brought him back. But he knew how to dream. So what do you think of Jesus? Jesus, the only God. And so am I, and so are you. You're not less than God, because God laid himself down within you to sleep. And as he slept, he dreamed the dream. You know what he's dreaming? He is dreaming that he is you. And when he wakes, he is you. And you are God. And when you completely awake, you'll return to the garment that you laid down when you entered the shadow world. So you entered the shadow world and completely forgot the being that you were prior to your entrance into the shadow world. One day you'll awake from it, and you're back in this glorious being that you are, beyond the wildest dream of men. I'm telling you from my own experience, I would not encourage you with a lie. I do not have to. I'm not here to make you feel good for a moment and then let you down. I'm telling you that if you believe me, that you are the dreamer, and you have dreamt everything into this world that is happening to you, and you will continue to dream it. You can start tonight if you know exactly what you want. May I tell you, get something noble, something big that sort of fires you. See it clearly in your mind's eye and ask yourself a simple question. What would the feeling be like if it were true? What would I feel like? And then as you feel it, do it. Here is the dream. He's gone from this world now. But he was 77 when he left. He was born in Odessa, in Russia, of a Jewish family. And he knows what it is to suffer, or he knew then, to be an outcast, not to have any new clothes at any time, only what charity could give him, wrapped his feet in bundles. Never knew what it was to have a suit, but slacks all patched up. And he was the head of a small family of about 4, and his mother died when he was only 8. So he had to get out and earn a few pennies to bring in for food for the family. And he got a job taking money to the bank in large denominations, and they would change it into copper and silver, and he'd go back to his business and give the money into the firm. And one day, looking into the face of this bearded teller, this cashier in the bank, he saw that the man gave him the copper and then the silver, and the outer wrapping of the copper and the silver were identical. And he wondered, wouldn't it be wonderful if he made a mistake? And so he imagined he made a mistake. And so he took the money from the teller, put it in his pocket, and walked back in the assumption that the man had made a mistake. He didn't make a mistake, but he walked for blocks and blocks with his patched clothes and burlap feet back to the building and gave the money back. The next day, standing before the same teller, making a similar change, the man made the mistake, and he spotted it. So he said, I wrestled with myself all the way back. Well, I had never known what it was to sit down and eat a meal and feel satisfied. I was always embarrassed with the patched clothes that I had to wear. And so I wrestled with myself, what will I do? So I went to the next bank and changed it into the right denominations for my business, that is where I work. And I kept the rest. And that night, I went all through the night wrestling with myself because it was not what my mother taught me. She taught me to be honest. All these things were percolating through my mind. But I was 8 years old, and my hunger and my embarrassment got the better of me, and so I kept the money. Went out the next day and bought a pair of slacks, bought a pair of shoes, and ate until it came through my ears, and satisfied all the hungers of my body. But it taught me a lesson. It taught me that dreams do come true, but you are the dreamer. He died here about a year ago, left his widow, I introduced him to his widow. I introduced his wife to him at my meeting. And here he left $1 million. In the interval, he gave fortunes to all charities, not to get even, no, because he made so much, he gave it. And when I told the story publicly in the past, they've always said to me, was that a nice thing to do? Would he ever give it back to the bank? I said, by the time that he could give it back to the bank, he would have given it back to Stalin, because Stalin took it all. Because there was no Stalin when he did it. And then by the time that he had enough money to send it back to Russia, who would he have given it to? Stalin. The very one who would naturally oppose the Jews and start the pogrom. No, he didn't send one penny back. He learned the lesson. The day is going to come, and you will know our moral values are not God's moral values. These are all church imposed. Has nothing to do with religion, as it's taught in the Bible. Every crime possible for man to experience is expressed in the Bible openly. It's all there. You don't have to do it. It's entirely up to you. But you're learning a principle. And you may learn it through something like that. And he learned it, and I know from my own experience with him. I've said many a time, speaking of a mutual friend, he needs some help, Joseph. And at the moment, I can't give it to him. Would you give him some money? Joseph always gave it to him. Never charged him 1 nickel interest. If he wanted to pay it back, perfectly all right. But he couldn't pay it back with interest. It was always an interest-free loan, if you looked upon it as a loan. I've said it time and time to Joseph, so-and-so needs help. I think $1,000 would be in order at the moment. Joseph always gave him the $1,000. And many a time, they paid it back. And some tried to pay it back with 6% interest. He always sent the 6% back. But I am not a banker. I'm a friend. Never told me to give it to you, and I gave it because he told me to give it to you. But I am not here to bank. Now, Joseph is gone from this world. But he left his wife this fortune. And she didn't have a nickel. But she too had the dream. And so she met the man who had the dream. And together they made this fortune. Because he made it before he met her. And left a lovely son, and they named him Neville. So now his name is Neville Mark. I saw him in vision. And she thought her baby would come the end of December. And I met him. And he called me father. I said, if I'm your father, this is the month of September. I said, if I'm your father, what's your name? He said, my name is Neville Mark. I said, when are you going to come into the world? So this is September. But I'm coming on the 10th day of November. I said, you're coming on the 10th of November? Yes. So next morning I told my wife, you're going to have a baby on the 10th of November. But she isn't pregnant. And she's long beyond the age where she could have a child. So she laughed. She said, no, you get everything you want, but this is one time you aren't going to get it. So when I saw her in my meeting the following week, and she was away out, I said, you know, I saw your son. She said, no, I don't want a son. I have a son. I want a girl. Joseph and I want a girl. I said, all right, you're going to have a son. And his name is Neville, and his next name is Mark, Neville Mark. And he's going to be born on the 10th of November. So it couldn't be. The doctor tells me the end of December. We're all right. Well, he was born on the 10th of November. So she called him Neville Mark. And so when he didn't behave well, I said, your name is Mark. When you behave well, it's Neville. But now you behave well, so now it's plain Neville now. From now on, it's all Neville. So I'm telling you that the dreamer in you is God. Whether it's a daydream or a night dream, that is God. Believe it. You can start right now, no matter how old you are or how uneducated you are, you can dream. And I'm giving you stories of those who were not educated, who had no financial background. Joseph Burleigh was the man that I spoke about. You see his ads in all the fashion magazines. The Burleigh fashion. Well, Joseph had no financial background and no educational background. but he knew how to dream. My father, his name was Joseph too, and he didn't have any financial background or any social background or any educational background. But when he left this world in 1959, he left behind him 10 children, each financially independent through his gift. If you leave one child financially independent, that's a tremendous accomplishment. He left 10, each independently secure in the financial world. Made no discrimination between his sons, they all got the same. And that was my dreaming father. And he said to me one day, when he heard me for the first time, I told the people, close your eyes and simply see it in your mind's eye, and I began to describe exactly what I would do. After the meeting, he said to me, you know, son, everything you said today was right but one thing. I said, what's the one thing? He said, don't close your eyes completely. Leave them partly open. That's what I do. I see better. Just shut them, but don't close them completely. You lose control of your imagination. You go away. If you leave it partly open, you can control it better. And so I would sit alone every morning and just simply shut my eyes, but I don't shut them completely. And then I see what I want to see, and I carry on conversations with those I must meet today from the premise that I want. And they only answer what I want to hear. And they completely do exactly what I want. That's how I control it. That was a waking dream. That was what my father did. That's what my brother Victor did. And they became what they are. Well, in the little island of Barbados today, they are tops in the financial world. Even the government, if they want to move, they always see my brother Victor.
Citizens don't take psychedelics because it's illegal. Neither do marionettes. Neither do robots. None of these well-behaved and mechanistic reductionist images of humanity take psychedelics because it's misbehaving. Misbehaving is a great sin. In fact, it's enshrined as the first sin. You'll regard that the psychedelic issue was there in Eden, and somebody misbehaved, and then they got tossed out forever and their children's children into the chaos of history. It's interesting to read in Genesis why this was. It was because they will become as we are, says Yahweh. They will become as we are if they eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge. I suggest to you that this is precisely what we should seek to do. We empower our experience by insisting on our authenticity. It's a wonderful thing to learn to be able to stand up and yell bullshit, because so much is being slung and nobody is talking about the primacy of experience and the dignity of the individual. The dignity of the individual. We went a long way with this in America before we betrayed it. And it wasn't only betrayed by the clowns in Washington. It's also betrayed by anybody who clusters themselves around the feet of some self-proclaimed nabob. Because the fact of the matter is, nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows. Nobody has the faintest idea. The best guesses are lies. You may be sure of it. And so to pretend that one human being will lead another out of the dark night of ignorance and into the shining light of truth is ludicrous, absolutely grotesque, a product of this empowering of the human image that has gone on through several thousand years of dominator culture. If you want a teacher, try a waterfall or a mushroom or a mountain wilderness or a storm-pounded seashore. This is where the action is. It's not back in the hive. It's not in the anthill. It's not knocking your head against the floor in front of somebody who claims that because of their lineage and whose feet they washed and whose feet they washed, that you should give credence to them. Knowledge is provisional, and we are yet to approach even the first moment of civilized understanding. The way it is to be done is by trusting yourself, trusting your intuition. Reject authority. Authority is a lie and an abomination. Authority will lead you into ruin. It's not real. And it isn't, don't get the idea that it's this liberal rap about how everybody has a piece of the action. You know, the Jews know something, the Buddhists know something, the Huichol know something. Nonsense, rubbish. Nobody knows anything. These are different kinds of shell games that have been worked out by priestly castes of people to keep things under control. Institutions seek to maximize control, control, control. That's what they're into. Did you think they were in the business of enlightening you? Saving your soul? Forget it. Control is what this is all about. And to the degree that we commit ourselves to ideology, we are poisoned. Any ideology, Marxism, Catholicism, objectivism, you name it, rubbish, all rubbish. What is real is experience. What is real is this moment. And so then what it becomes about is, what are the frontiers of experience? How much of that has been taken away from us by these dominators, by these priesthoods, by these cults, by these philosophical shell games? Well, a lot. That's the whole story of history. Our growing unease, our growing dis-ease, our malaise is all about the fact that we are kept from the wellspring of experience. We are sexually repressed. You may not feel it, but look back 100 years to a world where pianos wore pants. You know, we've made a little progress on the sexual thing. Maybe not. Maybe more or less than we think. But we are repressed in all of these areas. And we are particularly repressed in the area that relates to the psychedelic experience. Because it is raid to the dominator insect invasion. They can't take it. They can't stand it because it empowers the individual. It dissolves the cheerful model of science. It's just exposed as, you know, a nice story. It enriches the accessible universe tenfold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold. It makes the individual complete within his or her self. And this completion of the individual is extremely destructive to the plan of the dominators, which is that you will be a cog in a machine. You will participate in the life of an organization, not your life, the life of an organization. You will go to some bullshit job. You will pour the best years of your life and your genius and your hopes into this. You will serve an institution. You will serve. Well, it's a bad idea for free people to go along with this. A much better idea would be to insist on the dignity of human beings, to recognize that the freeing of slaves, the giving of the vote to women, the ending of public whippings, that this program of political enlightenment must also then include hands off on how people want to relate to changing their minds. We are not interested in being sexually regulated by the state, and we are not interested in being intellectually, spiritually, emotionally manipulated by the state. The state should stand down in this issue. The state is acting as the enforcing arm of the dominator culture, specifically of fundamentalist screwballs who, are horrified by all this, by the notion that people would claim the authenticity of their own minds, that people would stand in the light of nature and reject original sin and the guilt from Eden and, the sins of the fathers and all this rubbish which is handed down. What the archaic revival is going to have to mean, if it has teeth, is a re-empowering of the individual and a consequent lowering of the profile of institutions, especially government. We need to think about these things because we have bought into the idea that we have to serve and behave and be enslaved, else chaos will engulf the world. We need to carry out our analysis of the situation to the point where we can embrace chaos and see that chaos is the environment in which we all thrive. If we continue as we have, then, we're doomed. And the judgment of some higher power on that will be, they didn't even struggle. They went to the boxcars with their suitcases and they didn't even struggle. This is too nightmarish to contemplate. We're talking about the fate of a whole planet. Why are people so polite? Why are they so patient? Why are they so forgiving of gangsterism and betrayal? It's very difficult to understand. I believe it's because the dominator culture is increasingly more and more sophisticated in its perfection of subliminal mechanisms of control. And I don't mean anything grandiose and paranoid. I just mean that through press releases and sound bites and the enforced idiocy of television, the drama of a dying world has been turned into a soap opera for most people. And they don't understand that it's their story and that they will eat it in the final act if somewhere between here and the final act, they don't stand up on their hind legs and howl. So this whole effort to bring the psychedelic experience back into prominence is an effort to empower individuals and to get them to see that we are bled of our authenticity by vampirish institutions that will never of their own accord leave us alone. There must be a moment when the machinery and the working of the machinery becomes so odious that people are willing to stride forward and throw sand on the track and force a reevaluation of the situation. And it's not done through organizing. It's not done through vanguard. We'll turn our attention from psychedelics and psilocybin this evening to Gnosticism, which is not obviously directly or indirectly related to my usual topics. So this lecture represents a kind of an experiment for me as well. I'm sure you've heard me say that the essence of integrating the psychedelic experience is a familiarity of a certain sort with history. So I wanted to give an experimental lecture and discuss a certain historical episode and try and draw some lessons out of it for the contemporary situation generally and for ourselves as I conceive us to be a certain type of subclass. And I found as I had been involved with Gnosticism over a number of years, but I reread a lot of the literature and there's some new material out. And I found as I got into it that I was less sure than I thought of where I stood in relationship to it. So as a thought exercise, it became very inconclusive. I think Gnosticism is a double-edged sword. There is much about it that is very attractive. There's much about it that I think has to be firmly rejected. And I think ultimately its ontology has to be rejected because it's dualistic. Well, for those of you who these words don't mean that much to, let me lay the background. This is an episode in human historical thought that takes us back 2,000 to 1,700 years, approximately from the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BC to the conversion of the Emperor Constantine to Christianity some several centuries later. And in that period, a kind of Gnostic means one who understands. Gnosis is a special kind of understanding about the nature of the world that comes to one from outside of oneself, from outside of the world. It is true knowledge of the world. And the Gnostics claimed to possess this. And it's a very peculiar kind of knowledge because it divides one from the world. Essentially, the message of Gnosticism is that man is a stranger in this universe, that we have no business here, that in fact this universe is the creation of an inferior being, a mad god, if you will, and that we are somehow trapped in a situation not of our own making. And it is for the Gnostic to, number one, understand this, and then number two, to do something about it. And first of all, the gaining of this understanding was through ecstasis, perhaps drugs, although I am myself so associated with drugs that I don't want you to get the impression that I am making a case that there is any evidence that Gnosticism was a hallucinogenic-based movement. It may have been, but there is no evidence for it. There's greater evidence that there may have been sexual techniques and practices used to induce ecstasy. But again, even this is very thin because the most flamboyant charges of sexual practices are those laid against the Gnostics by their enemies. And in fact, until 1948, everything that we knew about Gnosticism
hidden in the silent faces of Egyptian monuments, under the gaze of the Vedic gods, between the lines of the old books of alchemy, and tantalizing us from the myths of the Aztecs and Mayans, the essence of the secret doctrine has always been there. Throughout the history of humanity, Only the elect few were initiated into the mysteries of this great universal truth. And those few guided the rest of humanity and gave them the outward symbols of that truth as guidance. For the great arcanum, the secret of secrets, was fiercely protected and offered only to those who had proven their moral purity and trustworthiness. But as humanity degenerated into barbarism and cruelty, the divine knowledge went underground to survive in isolated pockets around the world. For many centuries, the great arcanum has been beckoning to humanity from behind the stories and myths that veil it. The knowledge it delivers is universal.
No, I got some more. I got some more for
Religions
y'all.
and mystical
I'm dropping that
traditions.
knowledge on y'all tonight.
Whether it is the serpent of Adam and Eve from the Judeo-Christian tradition, the winged serpent of Quetzalcoatl from the Aztec tradition, the serpents climbing the caduceus of the Greek god Hermes, or the serpents of the Hindu or Buddhist traditions, all these symbols contain the same teaching. At long last, after centuries of darkness and ignorance, the time has come for this hidden doctrine to be revealed.
All religions are precious jewels on the golden string of divinity.
The word religion derives from the Latin root re ligare, which means union. The word yoga is derived from the Sanskrit root yug, which also means union. At their base, the different traditions of East and West describe the same goal: union with divinity. Religious traditions provide the map that one must follow in order to reach unification with the divine. Every religion seeks to express the same core knowledge. But one needs the right tools in order to read the map. With the right tools and their proper use, an aspirant of any religion or tradition may enter into direct experiential knowledge of the divine. It can be seen then that there is truly one science, one path, but appearing with different names and faces.
For narrow is the gate, and straitened the way that leads to life, and they are few who find it.
In Greek, the narrow path is called gnosis, which means knowledge. In Hebrew, the same narrow path is called da'at, which also means knowledge. This path is represented by the famous tree of knowledge in the book of Genesis. And the clue to entering into the direct experience of God can be found through understanding the symbol of the tree of knowledge. Genesis, the Judeo-Christian teaching of creation, was written as a means to pass down the knowledge of the great arcanum to those with the eyes to see and the ears to hear. Its inception was influenced by both Eastern and Western traditions in order to provide humanity a key contained in the foundation of all the great religions of the world. The Old Testament, or Tanakh, outwardly appears to be basic spiritual instruction in the form of stories and histories. Yet in truth, it is a vehicle of the secret knowledge. To better understand the origins of the Judeo-Christian tradition of Genesis, it is necessary to take a brief look at the life of the author, Moses. Although of Jewish lineage, Moses was raised to be an Egyptian pharaoh and was trained in not only the hidden wisdom of Egypt, but also that of his native Judaism. The civilization of ancient Egypt is among the longest lasting in the history of humanity, and an accepted custodian of immense knowledge in the ancient world. Judaism was directly influenced by two of the oldest civilizations on record, those of Sumeria and Babylonia, civilizations famous for their mystery schools. Schooled in the hidden teachings of these ancient traditions, Moses wrote the first 5 books of the Bible in Hebrew and in code, as was the tradition. Thus, every story and name contained within the books of Moses hides a deeper meaning. As it says in the mystical Hebrew book, the Zohar,
The narratives of the doctrine are its cloak. The simple look only at the garment, that is, upon the narrative of the doctrine. More they know not. The instructed, however, see not merely the cloak, but what the cloak covers.
the Bible is symbolic. The characters and events of the Bible are a cloak that veils the real message. This inner knowledge has been hidden, or in the case of Christianity, rejected entirely. The Bible, like all great religious books, has been interpreted literally. Even Jesus of Nazareth taught both a public and a secret doctrine.
To you it hath been given to know the secrets of the reign of the heavens, and to these it hath not been given.
Those who received the secret teaching were persecuted and forced to take the knowledge underground. As a result, the modern church has inherited merely the cloak. In addition, the Bible has undergone repeated editing by those without any knowledge of its secrets. Although the modern Bible is greatly disfigured, it is nevertheless infused with the ancient secret doctrine. However, the many levels of meaning hidden in the Hebrew letters are not visible in the modern language versions of the Bible. For example, the very first words of the Bible in Hebrew are Bereshit bara Elohim. The common literal translation is, "In the beginning, God creates." But the Hebraic translation, found in the Zohar, reads, "In wisdom, Elohim creates." Elohim is a Hebrew word. The root El is Hebrew for God and is masculine. The feminine form of El is Eloah, which means goddess. Elohim is plural, thus meaning gods and goddesses, male, female. In contrast to the familiar image of a bearded old man, God is established in the first 3 words of the Bible as androgynous, containing both male and female. The word Elohim has many meanings. In one sense, it refers to angels, the governors of creation. These divine beings are male-female, in the image of their creator. This is clearly illustrated in most ancient images of angels, showing them to have the attributes of both man and woman. In the Bible, the angel who oversaw the creation of humanity is called Jehovah Elohim.
Jehovah Elohim formed man from the dust of the earth. He blew into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being.
Jehovah is another important name.
Like I said, sis, yeah, I consider myself more spiritual too. although I'm a preacher's kid, was raised in the church, but I always knew that it was something different. It was something hidden that, it just really didn't make sense to me. I've always been different like that. I always I could decipher things and see hidden meanings in movies. I could see the hidden meanings in everything, in the movies and everything. I always knew it was something deeper to it. But yeah, we both and we all embody feminine and female. I mean, come on now. Yeah, I believe in a source. I believe in a creator. The creator of all, and that we are all connected to source. That's how I believe. I believe Jesus was a prophet. Like the Buddha and all of them, and Muhammad. That's what I believe. I believe that he was like a teacher. Because even in the Bible, he say, "Is it not written in your law that you are God?"
God, not to be confused with Javeh. The name Jehovah or Jehovah is comprised of 4 Hebrew letters: Yod, He, Vav, He. Yod or Yah can be translated as male or phallus, Adam. Heva or Heve is female, mother or uterus, Eve. Even the name Jehovah contains both masculine and feminine forces.
God created man in his own image. In the image of Elohim created he them. Male and female created he them.
The Elohim, the angel Jehovah, formed man in his image, androgynous. And so, as recorded in the esoteric heart of all great religions, humanity, symbolized by Adam, was once androgynous, containing both male and female.
Okay. Adam and Eve. Adam represents the conscious mind. Eve is the subconscious mind.
Jehovah Elohim planted a garden in Eden in the east, and placed there the man whom he had formed.
Eden is a paradise of perfection. Eden is symbolic of the innocence and happiness that was once the natural state of humanity. The humanity of Eden was pure, knowing only goodness and virtue. As reflections of God, humanity embodied the 7 virtues of the soul. Although the Eden of Adam and Eve never existed in the 3-dimensional physical world, according to esoteric wisdom, there was a physical place called Eden that was located in Mesopotamia, between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. A mystery school by the same name was founded in this place by the Chaldeans. But this was not the Garden of Eden of Adam and Eve. According to esoteric wisdom, there exist 7 fundamental dimensions.
Do you not know how Allah has created the 7 heavens, one above the other?
The ascent and descent through these realms by the beings that inhabit them is represented in the Bible by Jacob's ladder. The Bible states that when Jehovah Elohim created Adam, he placed Adam in the Garden of Eden. Esoteric wisdom states that this is the 4th dimension. In Hebrew, it is called Yesod, which means the foundation. Thus, the androgynous ancestor of humanity existed in a more subtle level of nature. That is why modern anthropologists know nothing about our true origins. Though happy in its innocence, Humanity, as symbolized by Adam, needed to grow spiritually. Thus Eve was separated from the body of Adam.
Jehovah Elohim took one of the hermaphrodite man's ribs, then closed up the flesh. Then Jehovah Elohim made a woman from the rib he had taken out of the hermaphrodite man. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of the man.
This process of separation, presented symbolically in the Bible, was gradual. The human hermaphrodite was separated into two sexes, male and female, so that they may see themselves better, to know themselves. Since that time, man and woman have sought to reclaim their missing unity, which is the root of the craving for sexual connection.
For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And out of the ground made Jehovah Elohim to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food, with the tree of life in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
There are two trees that are given specific importance within the garden. These two trees are symbolic, not literal. The tree of life is an ancient symbol that is universal in meaning, and is found in all the cultures that have held the esoteric knowledge. This is the same tree that Moses found burning on Mount Sinai. This is the tree under which the Buddha Shakyamuni found enlightenment. This is the world tree of the Mayans, the tree of life of the Aztecs, the great Nordic tree, Yggdrasil, that supports existence in its powerful boughs. In the mystical tradition of Judaism, the science of the tree of life is called Kabbalah. But this wisdom is universal and can be found in every great religious tradition, although it appears under many names. The science of the tree of life is a map of the universe and of the human soul. Just as the tree of life maps the macrocosmos, the expansive universe, so too does it map the microcosmos, man, the reflection of the universe. Thus the wise recommendation etched in stone above the entrance to the famous oracle of Delphi.
Man, know thyself, and thou shalt know the universe and its gods.
The tree of life symbolizes the structure of the soul and the structure of creation. Its roots are in the highest realms, and its branches and leaves are all the worlds and the many beings that exist. This tree gives forth fruit, life, sustenance, and wisdom. In the Bible, Moses wrote that Adam and Eve were free to eat of the tree of life. This means that Adam and Eve were free to feed themselves with the science of the tree of life, the science of God, Kabbalah. And as the tree of life also symbolizes the soul, Adam and Eve, humanity, were allowed to enjoy the benefits of abiding in a state of perfection, with an awakened consciousness. A fully illuminated consciousness is represented in the tradition of the Christmas tree, a symbol of the tree of life as passed down through Germanic esoteric traditions. Possessing an illuminated tree of life within means that one's inner senses are fully opened and active, providing a direct relationship with God. Of this tree, Adam and Eve could freely eat. But there existed another tree in Eden, the tree of knowledge.
And Jehovah Elohim commanded the man, saying, Of every tree of the garden you are free to eat, but as for the tree of knowledge of good and evil, you must not eat of it. For in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die.
It is clear that the tree of knowledge was forbidden to Adam and Eve, yet they were tempted by the one thing in all of paradise that was denied to them. Knowledge in Greek is gnosis, and in Hebrew, da'at. Da'at is the hidden sphere found in the Kabbalah, which traditionally is never spoken of or revealed. Da'at, gnosis, is the science of the great arcanum, that secret knowledge which has been hidden from humanity for ages. However, close examination of the use of the word knowledge in the Bible gives strong indications of the nature of da'at or gnosis.
Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son. The maiden was very beautiful, a virgin whom no man had known.
It is clear to the observant reader that knowledge in the Bible relates to sexuality. Hence, the tree of knowledge, da'at, gnosis, is a direct reference to sexuality. What then is the purpose of this reference to sex and its role in the fate of Adam and Eve? When humanity was physically separated into two sexes, man and woman still carried within them the reflection of their creator. Thus, within every male, there still exists a female aspect, and within every woman exists a male aspect. By this level of meaning, Adam and Eve symbolize the subtle energetic physiology of the individual. Adam and Eve as polarized energy are represented in the ancient symbol of the caduceus. Popularly associated to the Greek god Hermes, the symbol of the caduceus is actually visible in the records of countless ancient cultures from around the world. The two serpents have always symbolized the masculine and feminine energetic channels that wind up the spinal column. As they are energetic, not physical, a scalpel will never find them. Their root is yasad, the foundation, the sexual organs, and they are fed by the sexual energy. These two channels of energy are called Ida and Pingala in Sanskrit. In the Kabbalah, they are called Od and Ob, and in esoteric Christianity, they are called Adam and Eve. In the Bible, they are also called the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing before the God of the earth. The two serpents wind up the spinal column of the physical body. The spine is most often symbolized by a staff or a rod. The spine is the staff of the master and the central column of the human temple. The column stands upon the foundation stone, yasad, the sexual energy. The spine has 33 vertebrae, symbolized by the 33 years of the life of Jesus of Nazareth and by the 33 degrees of the Masons. On either side of this rod, the spinal column, are two serpents. Pingala is the masculine aspect, Adam. Ida is the feminine aspect, Eve. It is the energy of Eve in our psyche that pushes for procreation. When Eve is tempted to eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge, this is a symbol of humanity desiring the fruit of sexuality. Children. Until this time, humanity was not allowed to have children on their own. They were not allowed to eat that fruit.
And the serpent said to the woman, "You are not going to die, but the Elohim know that as soon as you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like divine beings who know good and bad."
Tempted by the serpent, human beings chose to procreate of their own will. In their innocence, however, they did not realize that the laws they were given were for their own good. Learning to procreate without the guidance of the Elohim led to the discovery of the orgasm. The tree of knowledge, or sexuality, was present alongside all the other aspects of existence. It is even recognized as an important presence in Eden, alongside the tree of life. And in the tradition of the Kabbalah, these two trees are said to share the same roots. However, unlike any other tree in Eden, Adam and Eve were only allowed to enjoy the tree of knowledge without indulging in its fruit.
For as soon as you eat of it, you shall die.
While in Eden, Adam and Eve only knew divinity and innocence, and thus inherently respected the laws of creation. In their innocence, they were ignorant of the consequences of indulging in the fruit of sexuality. Tremendous energy is harnessed in the sexual act between a man and a woman. It is in this coitus that humanity has the God-given capacity to create. Man is the active force, the reflection of God the Father. Woman as the receptive force, the reflection of God the Mother, and sex as the force that brings them together. These are the three forces that give rise to all of creation, and this is the foundation of the universal symbol of the Trinity. The Trinity is a unity of three that express as one. But in order to create, this one divides itself in two, male and female. This is the mystery of the Holy Spirit, the fecundating fire of God, symbolized in India as Shiva Shakti, the creative and destructive power of God. One of the most sacred symbols of Shiva, the Holy Spirit, is the lingam yoni, the intersection of the phallus and uterus. The same symbol is found on the other side of the world, in the alchemical tradition. The force that powers all creation, on all levels of existence, is sexual energy. Sexual energy is symbolized by fire, by water, and by light. In the tradition of alchemy, the sexual energy is symbolized by Mercury. When we strike upon the foundation stone, the rock, we find the waters of life. The ancient ancient ritual of baptism is a symbol of the transmutation of sexual energy, the source of salvation. All of life is born of the sexual waters. The power of creation, harnessing the force of that electric energy, implies a great responsibility. At the time of Adam and Eve, sex was only practiced in the temples under the guidance of the Elohim. Gabriel and his legions of angels were guiding humanity in this holy ritual, as indicated by his recurrence in the Bible announcing the arrival of children. Gabriel is the regent of the moon and directly influences all forms of conception. At certain times of the year, the husband and wife would travel long distances in order to be instructed in the sexual mysteries. This is the long forgotten root of the modern practice of the honeymoon. Thus the angels supervised this holy sacrament and guided a single sperm to meet an egg in the precise moment needed to engender a deliberate and divine child. The wasteful expulsion of energy and semen through the orgasm was not and is not required to create a child. This is, in fact, the hidden meaning of the term immaculate conception. Immaculate means perfectly clean.
When a man has an emission of semen, he shall bathe his whole body in water and remain unclean until evening.
To indulge in the fruit of sexuality means to spill the sexual energy, to orgasm, to taste the divine energy that illuminates the soul in order to feel physical sensation. Thus, the energy used to maintain the physical and spiritual vitality of the individual is expelled through the orgasm. Adam and Eve, as a symbol of men and women of the ancient past, ate of the forbidden fruit of the tree of knowledge, or the secret knowledge of sexuality. They abused the sexual energy in their own bodies by having the orgasm, and therefore they broke the most fundamental rule they had been given. It is very important that the tremendous energy that gives mankind the ability to create be used efficiently, because it is connected to the same energetic force that sustains the individual's own vitality. It is well known that the sexual energy is intimately related to the health of our psyche and our physical bodies. Not only is it necessary for sustaining physical vitality, and thus the 5 physical senses, but also the vitality of the 7 superior senses that unites mankind to the divine. Without the sexual energy, the soul atrophies, breaking our connection with God. When we expel the sexual energy, we expel the energy that fuels our inner senses. This is why those who fornicate, who expel the sexual energy through the orgasm, cannot perceive God directly. The orgasm is symbolized in the poisoned apple given to Snow White. While sweet to the taste of the physical senses, it is poison to the soul. Eating it results in unconsciousness and an eternity of sleep. The universal story of maidens and virtuous heroes falling asleep is an allegory illustrating the sleep of the consciousness, the state in which the human being loses the direct personal knowledge of God and the higher realms of nature. This is why the fruit of the tree of knowledge was forbidden to eat. Before the abuse of the tree of knowledge, sex was treated with the utmost respect, and the orgasm was unknown to mankind and unnecessary. Husband joined wife in the sexual act according to the laws given to them by Jehovah Elohim. They enjoyed the tree of knowledge, sexuality, but did not eat of its fruit. This was the genesis of the distinction between good and evil. A humanity that knew only goodness ate of the forbidden fruit and discovered animal desire, which always leads to suffering and pain. This is the Pandora's box or vase of Greek mythology, which when opened, releases the agents of evil into the world. Fear, pride, shame.
And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. And Adam said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself.
Through the discovery of the orgasm, Adam learned to be afraid, to be ashamed. As promised by the tempting serpent, humanity gained new knowledge, the knowledge of suffering. In tasting the forbidden fruit, Adam learned desire. From this moment, right and wrong is filtered subjectively through the need to feel pleasure and avoid suffering.
And Jehovah Elohim said, Behold, the man has become as one of us, to know good and evil.
Humanity had already known good, innocence, purity, and simplicity. Now humanity also knew evil, shame, fear, pain, emptiness. Now humanity knew what the Elohim knew, that desire leads to suffering.
Desire caused all the gods to fall from their places, and it is desire that leads all creatures to hell.
Desire is craving, and craving is suffering. Desire always leads to suffering. This is the message that is inherent in every great religion. The slave of desire is a slave of sin, and only suffering and death await him.
Through the abandonment of desire, the deathless state is realized.
Thus, stripped of their connection to the divine, Adam and Eve, as symbols of humanity, were cast out of Eden to wander in a wilderness of suffering and ignorance.
And to the woman he said, I will make most severe your pains in childbirth. In pain shall you bear children.
Rejecting the laws of Jehovah and the guidance of the Elohim, humanity attempted to have children on its own. And in the end, conception and childbirth happened out of balance with nature. And the result was pain and hardship. By using the sexual force to stimulate desire, the fire of Eve became inverted, flowing in the opposite direction. The serpent fell, forming the famous tail of Satan, stimulating the 7 inverted virtues, the 7 capital sins. Eden exists within every soul that is united with God. Expelling the light of God from within expels the soul from Eden and creates a great emptiness. To replace the void created by this disconnection with God, mankind created civilizations, ideas, and religions, seeking material wealth, power, and sexual satisfaction. Desire for sensation became the new God and only served to further degenerate mankind until man was left with only a trace of the divine inside. The secret knowledge contained in the story of Adam and Eve can be found hidden in mythological and religious stories from around the world. In story after story are found the enlightened or empowered heroes brought to ruin by their lust. In the Judeo-Christian tradition, long hair was the symbol of sexual purity or chastity. Thus, when Delilah cuts the hair of Samson, this is a symbol of lustful seduction. Samson lost his power when he could not control his sexual desire. In the epic Indian classic, the Mahabharata, the immortal Pandu is warned never to release the sexual energy. But when tempted by a beautiful woman, he proves incapable of controlling his lust, and he throws away his immortality and dies. By expelling the sexual
Which lasts longer, 1,000,000 years in which nothing happens, or 10 seconds with 50,000 events crammed into it? In other words, really time is only experienced by the events which occur within it. And I maintain that the early universe had very little going on, and consequently, time moved very, very slowly. The character of time as we approach the present is that there are more and more physical domains and energetic domains in which change can occur. For example, the early universe was a pure plasma, a pure swarm of unassociated electrons. You didn't even have atomic systems, let alone chemistry, molecular chemistry, life, complex speciated life, and dynamically balanced planetary ecosystems. Each one of those more complex phenomena crystallized out or emerged, if you will, from the previous systems that had come into existence. So when I say time is speeding up, what I mean really is that more and more is happening. More and more is happening. More connectivity occurs now in a calendar year than occurred in 1,000,000 years, 1,000,000,000 years ago. So somehow, as we approach the present, we find ourselves in an ever denser realm of activity, interrelationship, connect. In the Hellenistic period, the Logos was an informing voice, and all the great thinkers of Hellenistic times, Plato, Socrates, Xenophon, Thucydides, all of these people were in contact with the Logos. It was the sine qua non of Hellenistic religion, and it was a speaking and informing voice that tells you the right way to live. Well, we don't know what to make of this, and at a certain point in the evolution of the Western mind, judging by the writings of people who were contemporaneous with those times, the Logos fell silent. There was actually a date. Some of you may know the story of the fishermen pulling their nets off the Isle of Rhodes, and they heard a voice from the sky say that Great Pan is dead. And this was at the change of the eon, the beginning of the age of Aquarius. It was almost as though there was something in the ancient world that has gone latent, that we can no longer touch or imagine. Gordon Wasson, who discovered with his wife Valentina the mushrooms, told a very interesting story in one of his books about how in Mazatecán, the people who are speakers of Mazatecán, when they chant what the mushroom says, they have created a special form for this, which goes like this. Zabuzz, 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 tse. This word tse means says. Zabuzz, 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 says. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da, says. I didn't know this at the time I took mushrooms the second time. And in my head, I heard the mushroom speaking in English, but adding the word says to the end of the sentence. So it was almost like, this thing could speak in Mazatec, it could speak in English, but it always kept its cadence and its structure. The other thing about psilocybin and the DMT thing is that it not only is something not real unless it can be said, but the contrapositive of that is that once something can be said, it becomes almost too real. It displaces other possibilities. I mean, so we're living in a set of constructs, some architectural, some ideological, and they can be very oppressive. I mean, how do you get rid of the notion of linear time and space very easily? It's the slow work of consensus. One of the things that I feel I'm doing very consciously in these kinds of meetings is we're trying to launch and replicate memes. You all know this concept? A meme is the smallest unit of an idea, in the same way that a gene is the smallest unit of organism. And so these things, DMT elves, transcendental object at the end of history, so forth, these are memes. And in the same way that genes are copied and spread around, and that fidelity of copying is the key to genetic success, fidelity of meme replication is the key to communication. I mean, if I give a speech on something and then you hear it and then you go out and somebody says, so what did he say? And you give a completely cockeyed account of what has been said, well, then the meme has been betrayed. But if you can actually transfer the meme to somebody else's mind, and then they can copy it and pass it on, then the meme, it's almost as though the ideological environment were like a rainforest. Or a coral reef. Evolution is taking place. Stupid memes, dumb memes have short lifetimes and they disappear, and memes of great power are able to thrive in many intellectual and ideological niches and to make many marriages of convenience with other memes, and so they are stabilized and passed along. Somehow we have to become hip to the power of language. And instead of just willy-nilly creating linguistic structures sort of ad hoc, we need to begin to consciously engineer our linguistic intent. And then, so far in the 20th century, this has not been a program with a very happy history because only jerks have gotten a hold of it. Nazis and people with narrow social programs. They say, we're not going to call each other Mr. and Mrs. or hey you. Everybody's going to call each other comrade. And then this will create the notion of comradeship, which to a certain degree it does. But, manipulating these things for political ends, I mean, the Jews, it was okay to put Jews in ovens because the official language for talking about Jews was that they were Untermensch, subhuman, not like us, whoever we are. So once the definition had been changed, people said, well, it's okay to mistreat Jews. They're not even really people. And this kind of thinking goes on all the time. It's called stereotyping, and it always is an easier substitute. It's a cheap substitute for clear thinking. David Brown asked me the question, what about life after death? And it was somewhat of a sidebar. The Buddhists at the folk level in India do say you cannot attain enlightenment unless your mother is dead, which is a kind of an odd notion, seeming to imply that she had to precede you into hyperspace. When you die, what you do is you literally, as appears to happen, you dissolve. And where you go is forward and backward into time, not like a gas released into time, but along the tracks and trails of the genetic machinery. In other words, you flow into your children, and you become, let's make a very simple model and say at the moment of death, you become your children and your parents. A few moments later, you become your grandchildren and your grandparents. You're spreading down. It's almost as though the thing which you were, which was this focus of ego and individuality, then it dies. And it's almost as though the mountain begins to slump back into the generalized pool of consciousness and being. That's why I have somewhat less patience maybe than I should have with the idea of channeling and come as you were parties and that sort of thing, because it seems to me the key to understanding the idea of reincarnation and past lives is that you were everybody. Of course, that's who you are. Here comes everybody. You weren't just that shepherd girl or that Roman emperor or that Greek fellow. You're everybody, and you can find your way into the great genetic telephone system and ring anybody's bell in history. Well, then it would be absurd to claim you were that person. That would be as absurd as claiming that anybody you could call on the telephone is who you are. No, it's that we are everyone. And, the great turning object in hyperspace that is the genetic, transdimensional object casts off glinting reflections of this personality, that personality. And astrology has a role to play here and other things. But the bottom line is we are all drawn of the same stuff. I think one of the most profound insights you can have on psychedelics, and I certainly have it, is that we are all interchangeable. Anybody could do my job, and I'm pretty confident I could do almost anybody's job. We define ourselves otherwise, but in watching the rise of my own career, it's a kind of being deputized, chosen for the job. It's just they said, well, he can do it. He has the gift of gab, so give him the credit line. But it could have been anybody. Our uniqueness is real on one level, but on another level, it's fairly illusory. It's sort of a coincidentia positorum. You have to hold these two antithetical things in your mind at once in order to correctly perceive the proper level of ambiguity that's resident in reality. It ain't simple, folks.
True inner being, ego, whatever.
Well, I don't think we have to go back as far as the worm-like stage. I think what we have to do is we have to get out of history History is a con game run by frightened men and their obedient stooges. What we had a moment of happiness. There was a moment of completion. I guess I should explain my position on this. You see, there have always been dominance hierarchies in primates. As far back as you go, clear back to squirrel monkeys, there are what are called male dominance hierarchies. Well, so then in us, this was interrupted by psilocybin use over a period of probably a couple of 100,000 years. The psilocybin, forget that it's psychedelic for a moment. Just think of it as an inoculation against ego. And so for 200,000 years or so, it was a dietary item which suppressed this normal monkey behavior. And so then females were shared, the sexual style was orgiastic, there were no awareness of lines of male paternity, and the children belonged to the group. This was not, quote unquote, natural. The natural way is for the men to dominate, to control the females, to the old tooth and claw. But for a couple of 100,000 years, it was artificially interrupted by the presence of mushroom in the Paleolithic human diet. Well, then when, because of climatological factors and other factors that we can discuss in another meeting, the mushroom became unavailable, the old monkey behaviors reemerged only about 12,000 years ago. But in the previous 200,000 years, language had been discovered, fire, tool making, song, a whole bunch of forward leaps had been made. Well, then when the psilocybin was withdrawn and the patterns of male dominance reasserted themselves in an environment where fire and language had been achieved, it exacerbated it. It made it much more nightmarish. It made it much more difficult to step away from. And all of history is the unhappy story of essentially our withdrawal and our agony over being unable to reach this connection back into the Gaian mind, which when we had it, we lived in Eden. We were balanced. But it faded, and history was the consequence. Now, in the last 50 years, information has arrived on our plate. Lo and behold, in the final ticking of the final hour of our dilemma, that actually shows us the way back, if we but have the wisdom to understand this and then the fortitude to apply what we know.
Psychoactive substances.
You mean motivation to take psychedelics? To take action. Well, I think, that the psychedelic community is not yet recognized or named itself as a community. We're well behind gays and black people and all these other we're still trying to figure out if we are a community. And if we are a community and we have a domain of action, I think where it lies, it's not that we're all supposed to become dope dealers, it's that we're all supposed to become artists, that the transformation of culture through art is the proper understanding of what you can do with psychedelics besides blow your own mind. And I really think, what we need to do is put the art pedal to the floor and understand that this is art. We are involved in some kind of enormous piece of performance art called Western civilization. And, it's been a C- performance so far, and they're just about to reach out with the hook and drag us off stage unless we begin pulling rabbits out of the hat pretty furiously. Art is poised for this, but art is ambivalent because the society is ambivalent. That's why meetings like this, where you actually hear it said the sooner the better. The clock is ticking. This is not a test. There will not be a retry. You know, this is the window of opportunity between the unknown and eternity. If not taken, then the entire enterprise could be lost. The whole thing, from the cave paintings at Lascaux to Whitney Houston, it could all go down the drain if we don't, act to preserve it through an act of human cognition plus courage. To the future, without fear. Without fear.
Hold on a second, y'all.
I'm Amna Nawaz, 30 witnesses away. On the news hour tonight, in custody, a man.
Hold on a minute. Y'all, I got something for y'all. Hold on a second. Y'all wanna talk? Hold on a minute. Cause I'm tired of having these damn live streams. Don't nobody want to never come in the damn chat. Y'all gonna goddamn come up here tonight. Nah, y'all want them talk all that shit in the chat? Hit that damn link.
Well, first of all, as is always appropriate, I want to thank Esalen Institute for providing a forum for this kind of interchange. There are very few places, and fewer places in the country where an absolutely unconditional discourse can take place. And they not only tolerate what I do here, they encourage what I do here. I've been here since the first of the month as the scholar in residence, which is a new program at Esalen where they bring in people who have been here many times
you want to go to the gold
and just let them live for a month here and interact chiefly with the people who work here. So I've been warming up for you for a good 3 weeks, and I think I'm ready. I hope I'm ready. I don't know. I think tomorrow, when we let it settle out, I will get feedback from each of you, because so many people are not here right now.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
I should introduce myself. There may be people here who have never been exposed to this stuff. Some people come to Esalen and decide after they get here what they will take based on examining the catalog. And to those poor souls, we say, welcome and hang on. Well, I've been off the talk circuit for about 6 or 7 months because I've been writing a book that was something I'd wanted to do for a long time. Now this evening really initiates the beginning of a new series of public lectures and travels. Those of you who are old-timers to this material, if you look closely, there are small new wrinkles. Those of you who aren't familiar with it, this is the state of the art to my ability to put it across.
I really wasn't planning on being on.
Tonight, I just thought I would go.
I really wasn't planning on being on here over about 30 minutes. And then I seen, y'all start dropping in and everything. So I let it roll on that. Y'all was go. I had y'all crook up. I like that shit when I had y'all crook like that. See, they be there like the mama said. We all know. See, some not everybody. Some of those they so just set and indoctrinated, especially the older people. They just so indoctrinated and set in their ways till they refuse to change. They refuse. They don't believe what they believe until they leave here. But see, our generation, it seemed like it was easier for us to kind of grasp the concept of this spirituality and kind of be able, because from the way I've been seeing, everybody that I've been meeting was kind of like me, was always a loner, because I never did, really have, friends and stuff like that. I was always didn't kind of fit in because I was always more mature. The older people used to always tell me I had an old soul. I was always more mature than for my age and my classmates and stuff. So I just really didn't fit in. I kind of saw things differently. I've always been able to kind of just grasp and, like I say, see hidden meanings in different things and see things differently. Oh yeah, I always say I'm different. Yeah, I'm different. Yeah, I'm a lone wolf. Oh yeah, a lot of people do that. I used to watch a lot of them shows with them people, especially them white people. Shoot, them jokers, they go out there and build them a damn tree house and be living in the damn woods and shit. Yep. They be out. I said, damn. I mean, they be out there just like living off the land. They quit their jobs and everything and just went and moved out into the wilderness. Extraterrestrial. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I've always been like that. I just feel like everything happens for a reason too. Everything that happened in your life was already I feel like it was already like planned out. But I also believe it after because after I got into the astrology and everything, and when you getting to know like my placements and my natal chart and how it kind of like helps you, um, it guides you. It's a guide. It can help you guide through life as well, with certain things. So I realized how why a lot of things did happen in my life because it was there in my natal chart. Yeah, it really is. Then I started understanding myself better. I was like, okay, this is why this happened. This is why I feel certain ways about this is what it just really was like me. Hold on a second. Okay, now I'm gonna see if any of this, if y'all think any of these are my characteristics. Okay, sis, right here. Right here. Now see, like me, I'm like I'm like more masculine because I was always a tomboy all my life. I never was into wearing dress. I still really don't like to wear dresses and stuff. I never did like to really wear dresses and all that stuff. I was always considered a tomboy because I had more masculine energy in me and all that. And I found out all that through my natal chart. See, okay, right here, like my elements. I'm an Earth sign. I'm a Capricorn and I'm a Taurus moon. But I have more fire in my chart. See, I have 47% fire in my chart. I'm 16% earth, 28% air, and 9% water. That's my elements. My qualities, I'm 26% cardinal, 43% fixed, 31% mutable. Okay. My energy polarization, 75% yang, 25% yin. I'm 75% masculine, 25% feminine. Okay. Basic characteristics. We all have different characteristics. Some can be considered virtues and benefits. Others, inadequacies, are things to be worked on. In an ideal scenario, we should always push our high vibration characteristics over our lower ones. Keeping these energies in balance can be a constant struggle, but your victory brings tangible rewards for you and for your fellowship with others. The characteristics below are the ones that are most likely to be present in your personality. Hold on a minute. Oh yeah, I know it. Yeah, I know, boo boo. Yeah, I just have to repeat that because I was reading. Oh yeah, but yeah, like I said, because I've always been like that. I've always been a tomboy, but I've always, like the men, but I've always been like didn't like to wear. I've really just started really trying to get into my femininity as far as wearing dresses, and stuff like that. Embracing my, getting that balance as you call it. All right, let me see where we're here. Okay, below are ones so the characteristics below are the ones that are most likely to be present in your personality. Hold on a minute. I figured somebody was gonna start texting me. Okay, that's the way. Now the whole time I was just playing the thing when nobody texting or nothing. All right, it's okay. But that doesn't mean that all of them actually can exist simultaneously. It says harmonic potential. It says loyal. Hold on a minute. Let me go ahead and call this. I'll be right back. Y'all listen to this real quick.
The themes or the memes or concerns that this weekend will orbit around. Looking at the number of people who are familiar with this kind of thing, I assume that the dialogue or the event will be largely driven by questions, because all these graduate students know that if they don't ask questions, I will just repeat myself, and they've heard it already. So feel free to ask questions. Feel free to interrupt. If you're signaling that you want to interrupt and I'm not noticing you, I'm noticing you. I just have to somehow put it together in a certain way before I can stop and let you get in. So, I do see you, but sometimes I get up ahead
Y'all still there?
and then I can't pull out of the power dive.
Okay, it says harmonic potential, loyal, patient, creative, charismatic, scrupulous, serious, self-confident. Say housemaid, calm, zealous, ambitious, optimistic. But they got a bunch of them right there. But I ain't gonna name all of them. It says disharmonic potential. Apparently insensitive. Now, I can be insensitive now, but I can be insensitive to those who are insensitive to me. Emotionally inhibited. Proud, yes, I've always had that problem. Being proud. Sweet tooth, yes, I love sweets. Resentful, I can be retaliatory, materialistic. Yeah. Let's see. Hey, tell you don't never fail. That's the devil for you now. Well, of course, I say ain't no devil because I feel the devil is an entity. Anybody can be the devil. Anybody can embody that kind of spirit. It depends on if you let that if you stay in that lower vibration. Yeah. Okay. Nah. Control the stubborn, spiteful, narcissist. No, I know I ain't no narcissist, but I can be stubborn. I can be spiteful. I can be possessive. This is egocentric. Yeah, I guess I can be. Y'all laughing at me, huh? It says suspicious, yeah. Dominator, hard, convinced, arrogant. Yeah, I can't be that. Pretentious. Okay. Now it says the signs of my birth chart. So my name is Deanna. It says Deanna, although the sun sign is a very important element of your birth chart, many other placements are too. That's what I be trying to tell you, see. It says we are all a mix of all signs, which play a different role depending on where they are located in your chart. The chart below shows the order of the most relevant energies in your astrological experience according to the overall complexity of your chart. Okay, it says 19% Leo, which is my rising sign. See, that's how you. Remember, I always tell you that your rising is how you really appear in the world. People really can. People look at your sun sign, and that's how they really perceive you as your sun sign. Okay, 16% Sag, 12% Aries, 12% Aquarius, 9% Gemini, 8% Libra, 8% Taurus, 6% Scorpio, 5% Cap, 3% Virgo, 3% Pisces, and 1% Cancer. Okay. It says the positions of the stars. It says below you will see the position of the stars on your chart. Each planet is aligned with a sign that carries a unique way of operating, thus generating cosmic interactions that can manifest in different ways. The placement of planets and signs can say a lot about our personality and behavioral tendencies. Gemini, huh? It says right here, okay, sun. It says the luminaries in the rising sign. Okay, sun at 21 degrees of Capricorn, which it says 3 degrees Dakin. They always call your sun sign your Dakin, right? Okay, rising at 0 to 0. See the when you have like that 0 to 0, the less degrees that you have to the sign is the more of the sign that you embody. See, I'm like 0 degrees, 0 degrees of Leo. Okay, Taurus moon, 29 degrees of Taurus, exaltation. Okay, Mercury in Aquarius, Mercury rules communication. That's exalted. Okay, Venus in Sagittarius, 13 degrees. Mars in Gemini, which is retrograde. See, Mars is the planet of war. That's why you have to be careful about your communication and stuff. Okay, social or outdoor planets. Jupiter is 16 degrees of Aries. Saturn is 0 degrees Leo, retrograde. Okay, transpersonal planets. Uranus is 6 degrees of Scorpio. Neptune, 12 degrees of Sagittarius. Pluto, 11 degrees of Libra. Chiron, 23 degrees of Aries. Lilith, 8 degrees of Aries. And y'all know who Lilith is, right? Lilith was a god, but they try to call her the black. See, in the night, when you hear astrologers talk about your Lilith sign, where your Lilith is and what sign, they always talk about Lilith. They try to say that Lilith is something bad. They call it Black Moon Lilith. Well, we all know that Lilith really was a goddess. And they all the goddesses and stuff. You already know what they did with that. So I ain't even got to go into that. Part of fortune is see, your part of fortune is where your prosperity lies. See, 22 degrees of Pisces. Your midheaven, I'm midheaven, 19 degrees Aries. Right, exactly. That's what it is. Because you had see all. That's why I say when you in your chart, it tells you how to master certain energies. Because we are the solar system. We are the universe. It tells you how you can master. Like I say, we have the capability. Like I say, along with source, we able to create our own reality. See, that's why I say it's all about your thoughts and you. It's thoughts and you and the way you think, as a man thinketh. See what I'm saying? Your thoughts create your reality. People don't realize that words create your reality. You speak things into existence. That's why you have to be careful of your words and your thoughts, because we create with words and thoughts. Just like when they say spell, that's why they call it spelling, because it's a spell that you're doing. You get it? Those words hold meanings, just like the words hold power. Your thoughts hold power. Astrological houses. The astrological houses, that's why I tell you about 12 houses in the chart along with the 12 zodiac. The astrological houses in your birth chart represent the manifestation of energies in our experience in the material world. These are the different areas of life where energies will be channeled. Appearance, resources, money, learning, family, faith, friends, career, etc. The stars and signs occupy different places in the 12 houses of each chart. And the greater the interaction of planets and signs in a given house, the more the themes governed by it gain relevance. See what I'm saying? Do I need to say that again? The stars and signs occupy different places in the 12 houses of each chart. And the greater the interaction of planets and signs in a given house, the more themes governed by it gain relevance. Which meaning whatever those planets and things that are in the houses of your it like I said, each house, like they say, rules like your family, your career, your education, your community. It rules different areas of your life. It's you have the power to manifest, use these energies to help you manifest in different areas of your life. See what I'm trying to say? This is a very sensitive area of the chart. And for the information to be correct, the time of birth entered must be as accurate as possible. Okay. See, the placements of planets found in their astrological houses is their mode of interaction. See, I have Pluto in the third house. I have Uranus in the fourth house, Venus in the fifth house, Venus and Neptune in the fifth house, the Sun in the sixth house, Mercury in the seventh house, Lilith is in the ninth house, which is where my part of fortune, and where I have Pisces, the part of fortune, and Lilith in the ninth house. Part of fortune, ninth house. Jupiter, ninth house, and Jupiter deals with money. Chiron, 10th house. Mars, 11th house. Moon, 11th house. Saturn, the 12th house. Okay, I'm a Capricorn. Capricorns are ruled by Saturn. Saturn is Capricorn's ruling planet, and Saturn is considered the planet of hard work. Meaning, Saturn is kind of like the planet of like karma. See what I'm saying? You have to be careful how you interact with Saturn. See, okay, planetary aspects. Aspects show how the planets interact with each other in your birth chart. This communication can be fluid or tense. depending on the aspect formed. Such interactions work as an autopilot. They guide part of your personality and tendencies in life. If personal will does not come into play, the smaller the orb found, the more relevant the aspect. We must strive to understand how aspects between planets can influence our life and way of being. Conjunctions. I have Venus and Neptune conjunction. That's in Sagittarius. I have Saturn conjunction with my rising, which is Leo. Mars is in opposition with Neptune. See, I have Mars. Mars is the planet of war. If you happen to look at any of these, like these world leaders, if you look at their charts, you look where their Mars placement is, and then you get to know their personality and stuff like that. I'm telling you that it has a lot. That them aspects and stuff have a lot to do with how you act in the world. You have the squares, you have sextiles. See, it's a whole lot more to you than to a birth. It's more whole lot more to you than just that sun sign. See, it's real. It's see. I'm telling you, it's deep. It's real deep. But I'm gonna go on to end this. I don't been on here 2 hours and 30 something minutes. That's right. We're powerful. We can harness all kinds of energy. That's why I always tell you to go within. Once you get to know yourself, it gets at center with. That's why they tell you, see, that Christ consciousness is really what Christ. That's why they tell you he had a secret doctrine that he was teaching that everybody didn't know. And that's what everybody waking up to now. That's why they call it Christ consciousness. When you open up that third eye, it's called. A lot of people call it Christ consciousness because because you are the Christ. That's why they say Christ Jesus, because the Christ can be in all. The Christ is in all of us. Some people just tap into it, and some people don't. That's why they say many are called and few are chosen. All right, my loves, this is your girl, Empress Goddess, the Georgia Peach. If y'all enjoyed this content, leave me a like. Hit that like button. Leave me a comment in the box below. Share, subscribe, and as always, my loves, go within so you never go without. As above, so below.